Welcome to Beyond the Frame. I'm your host, Salvatore Bischetti, and on this podcast, we explore creativity one story at a time. On this show, I sit down with a bunch of different creatives, whether that be film directors, entrepreneurs, or even actors as well. Anybody that's really driven by their own work. Anyways, thank you for staying tuned in, and let's get started with today's episode. In today's episode of Beyond the Frame, I'm sitting down with film director Frank Woodward, and we talk about his journey in filmmaking, the experiences that helped shape his career, and the lessons he's learned along the way. Anyways, let's get on into the episode. I have done a little bit of research on some films that you've made. The first question I have is, what was the first thing that got you into filmmaking, especially like horror and sci-fi type of films? Was there like a certain movie or like a book that you stuck with growing up?
There's two different things. What got me into horror and sci-fi is different than what got me into filmmaking. I always loved movies growing up. I was born of the generation where I saw Star Wars in the theater, so Star Wars was a big film for me, which got me into sci-fi. And then you bought Starlog magazine, which then Starlog founded Fangoria magazine, and then you basically followed those trails, and you like monsters and you like creatures and distant worlds and stuff like that. But what got me into filmmaking, although it's kind of related, was the making of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It wasn't the film itself. I love the film. It's one of my favorite films of all time. But there was a making of that they had put out around the same time, shot on 16 millimeter. It was all about what they did and all the fun they were having making that movie. And I was like, I want to do that.
Interesting. And how old were you
when that happened? I mean, so that's like 81, 82, right? So I was born in 68. I can't do math. I have math performance anxiety, so it'll take me a second.
So do I.
I got to cheat. I'll cheat. So it's 1981 minus 1968, and for you folks at home, 13. I was 13.
Oh wow, dang, that's a really young age.
I knew I wanted I was fortunate that, unlike a lot of the people I went to school with and college and stuff like that, I always knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. I always knew I wanted to be in that realm. And as you start working in the business, your goals will shift and morph depending on where you gain access and what you are able to do to make money and work actually as a professional. So I came here from Philadelphia. I came to Los Angeles. I went to film school at Temple University in Philadelphia. And I came out like most people did at the time, and maybe still do. I came out wanting to be the next Spielberg.
Okay.
Really, I am not. But
well, I mean, you've made a lot of films though, and they've been like pretty successful, I would say. And you've also done a lot of shows I've seen.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you've hear about people saying they have like an imposter syndrome. You're working and you're doing things, and like, I'm not the person everybody thinks I am. I clearly am not good enough. I'm not that. So you go through those doubts. It's taken me a long time to really feel like, I guess I have done some things. That's a more recent development for me, actually. I would annoy family and friends because they were like, Frank, you've done this, you've won this. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not there. I'm not where I want to be. So that happened. That's a long time to shake.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I feel like it's a very like good thing to stay humble too. So, and like always aim higher, because you can always like better your work in any way, like if you see it in a certain aspect.
Humility is in an ego-driven business. Having humility is very key. It may put you on the slower path to success, because people with egos, they'll go in there, they'll sell themselves, they'll say, I can do this, I'm the best at this, and sometimes they're proven to not be, or they're proven to not be, but they get by just on force of will and personality. So being humble in a town that loves to toot its own horn and take bows and all that stuff I found it has taken longer for me to get to a place where I feel like I'm making the achievements that matter to me. So I don't know. But at the same time, I'm finding these accomplishments that I'm having later more satisfying and more real, and not because I was in the right place at the right time, although that definitely matters, and not because I fetched somebody coffee for a number of years and then they said, well, okay, now you're a producer, which happens a lot. You know, there are people who work their way up through the ranks of being somebody's assistant for a long time. It's not that they don't learn anything. It's not that they're not smart, but it's different. For me, who wanted to be a filmmaker, even though making deals and doing those kind of like office stuff is important, and you need to know how it affects your film, it's only part of the story for me. I'm somebody who wants to know everything. I want to know how all the pieces come together to make a movie, which are so many different places. There's no other art form like film, really.
Yeah, it's a really interesting industry. Honestly, I really admire it.
It's a lot of fun.
It seems a lot of fun. I'm a photographer and a videographer, so like I'm kind of in that industry too. Or I mean, I guess in a certain aspect of that industry. So it's definitely fun.
You're definitely in an aspect of the industry. You're the camera. Camera matters. Yeah. Camera, you can't have film without a camera.
That is true. Did you have any mentors, early jobs that kind of helped you shape your style in filmmaking?
I've had mentors for sure, and I'm always learning on every project I do. I haven't really had any one person that took me under their wing and took me out through my whole entire journey. I would learn lessons from different people and pick up different nuggets of wisdom that I took and put into my own life view or business or artistic view. So there's a producer who was the head of my department when I was at Anchor Bay, that the way he did documentaries for Anchor Bay and the featurettes, I didn't realize until just this Bob Gurr documentary how much he influenced me.
Really?
So I guess, and that's a good way of putting it. I think I've definitely had people who have influenced me as like a mentor, like an Obi-Wan Kenobi type of thing. Not really.
I see. So you've had a lot of influences. That's good. I also saw that you worked on Silicon Valley. How do you think that influenced your directing and writing?
Silicon Valley, I did locations. I did location managing on that. Worked with my longtime location manager, friend, and boss, Kelly Harris. So you learn something on every production you do, whatever position you do. One of the reasons I write and I edit and I make my own movies, but I've been making my really good money by being a location manager. But when I got into location managing, the reason I did get into it is at the time, and it still is, it's one of the few departments on a film set that has to interact with all the other departments, and it needs to understand what they need to get the film or show produced. So by virtue of that, you learn how each department works. I may not know how to operate a camera, although I do a little bit, but I know what they're about. I know what their needs are, and I know how they play into the whole entire world of production. So Silicon Valley would teach me about how to put productions together, what parts were needed, what parts were not there. You know, there's a key problem I remember on that season of Silicon Valley where we were spinning our wheels trying to find this one location that the writer producer put in the script, and we weren't finding what he wanted for the longest time. And then he had written the script and came in to direct it, but he wasn't there for the first part of prep because he was off doing something else. And he had an idea in his head exactly what he wanted, that if he had just shared it with us in the beginning, we would have saved us all a lot of heartache and a lot of shoe leather, and we would have found things a lot faster for him. So what I learned from that is that you have to communicate to your crew what you're trying to do. To keep it in your head and just hope that somebody's going to stumble upon your vision is stupid. And I'm saying this about, I'm not saying his name, but if you do the math, it won't take you long to figure out who it was. He's a big name in this business. And for me, it would be like, this is your show. You want it to be a certain way. I would think that you would be heavily involved in making sure everybody knew what you wanted. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, this guy couldn't be bothered until it was officially his time to start prepping the episode. And by that time, I was just like, we spent all this time trying to find you things. And you had in your head what you wanted. And if you had told us that what you wanted, we probably could have gotten you at the exact place you wanted if we knew where the hell it was. So that communication is very key in everything you do, and keeping it to yourself doesn't help.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Because I do like a lot of portrait photography and sometimes video promotions. So I try to really communicate with my client to see what they want so I can deliver them the perfect quality images or video shoots that they want. Because they're hiring me, so it's my job. And also, I feel like it makes it more of a better process. Because then, like, I know what I'm recording for or shooting for. So communication is definitely key in a lot of...
Yeah, it's essential. I mean, and especially also if you're a producer or director who's going to come in and then be all bent out of shape that, how can you guys not know what I want? I'm like, because you haven't told us. Mm-hmm. That's how we don't know. He wasn't upset about it, but I could tell he was getting frustrated that we hadn't found it. Because the way television prep tends to work is you have X amount of days of preparing to film an episode. More often than not, it's 8 days of. More often than not, it's 8 days of prep, 8 days of filming, and then however long for post-production. Which means during those 8 days, you need to find all the locations, scout them, do budgets for them for all the departments, and figure out when you're going to shoot it and what times you want to get in. So whenever you're doing an episode, if you're a location scout for an episode, and you have to kind of find the place, you hopefully try to find the place before those 8 days start, because that's going to give everybody the time they need to plan. And in this particular case, it was the first episode of the season, so we had the script for a long time. And this guy knew he was going to be director, and it's his show, but he didn't show up to tell anybody anything. And it was just like, you know how this works, buddy. And I'm sure he has a good reason, and a reason he will tell me that you just don't understand. And I'm like, no, I understand. I just don't agree.
Well, for another question, what's the difference between making a documentary and versus writing a horror movie? Like, is one harder or more personal to you?
I think everything I do takes on a personal connection at some point. I do fall in love with it, with whatever project I do. You know, I wrote Wrong Turn 6. At the time, I had seen Wrong Turn 1 and 2. I hadn't seen the others, and it wasn't my favorite horror genre. But I recognized it as something that was an opportunity for me to write something of an established series. So by the end of the process of writing it, I was the Wrong Turn fan and loved it. I was very, very happy with what I wrote. I was happy with what came out. Some other people weren't. Horror fans are very opinionated. And they have the stuff that is sacred to them. So the connection I have with any project comes with the process of doing. Mm-hmm. And documentaries, writing a horror script, especially when you're not going to make, is much different than making a documentary from soup to nuts like I did with most of the documentaries I've ever done. Because with scripts, you write the script, you talk about the story with the producers and the director, and then once they say, okay, that's good, outside of maybe a rewrite or two, that's it, you're done. With documentaries, I can come up with the idea and the concept and the approach I want, but then I'm on it throughout. I'm asking the questions, I'm shooting some of my own shots, I'm cutting it myself, I'm talking to all the different people along the line. So by being more involved with a documentary, it probably means more to me than Wrong Turn 6 did. But Wrong Turn 6 meant a lot to me.
What does a writing process look like to you? Or how is it when you're writing the whole story of a film or a documentary?
Well, I mean, the documentary, the story, I mean, you don't do a script per se for a documentary, at least not in the beginning. But by deciding what questions you're going to ask of the different people that you're interviewing to get the ball rolling, you kind of are choosing a structure and a general vibe to what you're ultimately going to tell. But then you find the story and you find the editing and the structure as you edit. So with a film, like a narrative film, when you're writing the script, it depends on the person. For myself, I will outline it, and I will do pages, notes, and I'll do everything from I'll take a piece of paper, and each paper will be a scene, and I'll write all the things I want to happen in that scene, filling out a piece of paper, and then after I handwrite all that out, I'll sit down and I'll type it into a nice outline for myself that I'll follow, and then I just build from there. And along the way, nothing's precious, so if it's working, it stays. If it doesn't work, maybe you shuffle it around and find out a place for it to work. So there's I find a strong similarity between editing and writing, in the sense that you're discovering the structure. It's just a matter of at what stage are you just finding the structure. With the narrative, you're finding the structure at the beginning so that people can then go forth and make it. With the documentary, you're kind of finding the structure more after you've gathered all this footage, and you've gone all over the place, and that's how you put it together. And that's been mostly true for all the documentaries I've done. I've had a concept. With Men in Suits, my concept was I want to talk about what it's like to be inside the suit. So I'm going to talk to only the people that have ever been in it. There's many documentaries about the guys who draw the monsters and sculpt the monsters, and they're all wonderful. But the guys inside the monster who has to make it behave and move and all that stuff, that was what I wanted that documentary to be. So that gave me they gave me parameters. I knew I wasn't going to go too far outside of that. So that's kind of a script for documentary, but
For Men in Suits, did you have a lot of fun interviewing the people? I saw that you got to interview Doug Jones and apparently the original Godzilla as well.
Yeah. Haruo Nakajima, the guy who first played Godzilla. But it was two actors that played them. But Haruo Nakajima played Godzilla first and also played him in a lot of the subsequent Showa era Godzilla movies. So he played him a long time. But yeah, of course, I'm lucky in the sense that when I do the documentaries I've done, they're very pop culture, sci-fi, horror, fantasy adjacent, and that's me. I'm a fan. I'm a geek. So meeting Doug Jones, absolutely. Now that Doug Jones is somebody I've worked with a couple of different times, and I can still consider a friend, and he consider me a friend, or at least an acquaintance, a good acquaintance. All I know is the last time I saw him, he gave me a big hug. So I'm like, hey, that's great.
That's awesome that you've had the opportunity to work with Doug Jones.
I worked with Dougie a few different times. And when I say work with him, not all of them were film productions. We definitely filmed the interview with Men in Suits and talked to him then. But then I also had the good fortune of there was a concept album of Lovecraftian music where they had hired Dougie to read the narration in between the tracks. And I was unofficially hired as the guy to direct Dougie as he was doing the readings. And when I say direct him, it's primarily because in Lovecraft there are many names that are unpronounceable, Yog-Sothoth and Shub-Niggurath and stuff like that. Or Nyarlathotep. You look at it on the page as Doug did that day. He's like, "How do I say that?" I said, "I think you say it like this." He goes, "Okay, thanks," and he nailed it, of course.
That sounds really interesting.
It was fun.
I also saw that you've also worked on Lovecraft, Fear of the Unknown. How did you get legends like Gaiman and Del Toro to be in that film?
The great thing about documentaries at the time I made Lovecraft was now everybody's got a documentary, and there's been countless histories of the making of these films and that film, and so everybody's doing it, and they do it on YouTube as well. But at the time I was doing it, even though there people were doing things like that occasionally, it wasn't as often. So with Lovecraft, the great thing about approaching those guys is that they're fans too. They would love to sit around a table with a cup of coffee and talk about all the possibilities of the Cthulhu mythos. So asking them to talk about Lovecraft on one level was exciting for them because that's what they do anyways. That's enjoyment for them. In the case of John Carpenter, what was really interesting is that and this is not just about Lovecraft, but in general, I find it's when you have to talk to him about his own work that he kind of goes, okay, sure, I'll tell that story again, yada, yada. But if you're talking to him about anything else he's excited about, he comes alive and he will talk to you at length. And I think that helped with a lot of these guys. I wasn't necessarily talking to them about their work, although it will come up because Lovecraft influenced their work. It was really just, hey, Mr. Gaiman, would you mind getting together and geeking out for an hour about Lovecraft? But the simpler answer to that is how I got them is we called. And we asked. And I still maintain that if you're calling and asking somebody to talk about something that they are themselves are passionate about, excited about, they'll more often than not say yes.
How do you choose what stories to tell? How do you make them work for the audience in a way?
How do I know if they'll work for the audience?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some projects I've done that I was hired to write, and there are some projects I've done that were concepts of my own that I developed. With the ones that I've developed, and that goes for Lovecraft to some of the scripts that I write and the shorts I do for myself, I have to trust that there's going to be enough people that agree with what I like that there's an audience there. You hear about Hollywood trying to tick off this box, and let's make sure the soccer moms love it, and the kids under 13 love it, and make sure the people in the Midwest and the people over in Germany, and all of a sudden you're trying to satisfy everybody. And an expression that I like very much these days is that you end up coming up with something that's very beige. It's pleasant, it looks right, but because it's trying to satisfy everybody, it doesn't take a strong stance in any direction. And it's very beige and very forgettable. That's a big problem with AI right now, among with other things, is that AI has been trained to satisfy and do a good job for the person who's asking. So it's not going to take a risk. It's not going to stray too far afield from oh, you want a puppy with a ball? Okay, I'm going to do this puppy with a ball, and I'm not going to get too crazy. And I'm not going to make it a football. I'll just make it a round ball. And it's correct, and it's rendered well, but it's, that's kind of it's the simple version. With film, you kind of hope, you want to take risks, but then you have the flip side problem of that film is expensive. And even in this day and age when it's cheaper than it used to be, it's still expensive. So you don't want to waste too much time. There was a professor I had for screenwriting that on the first day of class, he asked everybody, he said, okay, so how many people here have a message or have a personal theme or something like that they want to write a script about? People would raise their hand. He goes, go do poetry, go do art, write a novel. It's cheaper. And that's true to a certain extent, is that what you're writing, when you're doing a film, that's the challenge, is how do I appeal to the biggest amount of people while also trying to be artistic and take the risks that people expect of artists, while not also alienating them or spending too much of money on an idea that you probably should have spent half the money on that, because that idea, while may be important to you, may not be important to enough people out in the world that it's going to make that money back. So it's a hard tightrope walk that you do. But people have achieved it. They've been doing it for over 100 years.
Dang, that's crazy. So I mean, it's definitely a huge process goes into film, and I see how it can be very expensive because you have to reach out to a lot of people, and also camera equipment or just it costs a lot of time for people too.
The time it takes and the cost of it all, but that's also part of the process too. It's just film is a collaborative medium, and it's one of the, like I said, there's no other art form like it. It's because it's not just one art form. It's not just photography. It's acting. It's sound design. It's music. It's architecture, and because you're building the set. It's also adventure because you're going out in the world and you react to the environment around you. You're shooting on location. It's logistics and planning. You have to figure out how to get this circus of 100-something people around. If it's a normal size crew, it tends to be like between 50 and 100 people. We're getting smaller and smaller, and that's a good thing. But it's all those things coming in. Whoever decides the costumes, whoever decides what hairstyle they're going to wear, makeup styles they're going to wear, all that feeds in to the creation of the final film. What's good about that, going back to how do you know if it's going to appeal to a lot of people? There's a lot of checks and balances along the way from your script to your finished film. As a director, you're supposed to kind of make sure that for all the suggestions and possibilities that come along from all these minds who are just as creative as you are, that you keep your ship on the right path. It's like somebody said, wouldn't it be great if we did a musical number here? It's like, it would be fantastic if we do a musical number here. But we're the Nuremberg trials. A song during the Nuremberg trials is going to be hard. So you pick, as a director, you're trying to keep everything on a pathway, usually of your own decision. You've decided what you want it to be. But you have to keep yourself open to those ideas, because I have a script for a short film I'm getting ready to do next year, at the beginning of next year. And the actors are coming on board, and the actors are reading it, but they're all smart people, so they're not just reading it for the roles. They're also like, Frank, I noticed in this scene you didn't actually follow through on an idea you planted earlier. It's like, you're right, I gotta go back in. So I like having voices around. We're not infallible. There's no such thing as somebody who's infallible when it comes to art.
If you don't mind me asking, what is the short film that you're working on for next year going to be about?
I'll say this for now. It's kind of a ghost story.
Ooh.
But not really. I'm not going to say too much more right now, because partially because it's still taking shape. Mm-hmm. I mean, the script, it's pretty much going to be the script, but we're casting now, and people are coming on board, and my cameraman, my DP is on board, so we've been talking about looks and everything like that. So, and also too, knock on wood, we're still not 100% it's going to happen, because with short films, like anything, it's like even short films cost money. All right, how much money is too much? How much money is just the right amount? Because short films don't make money. So, you don't want to spend $100,000 on a 15-minute short, because you're definitely not going to see that money again. So if you're not going to see that money again, you try to keep it to maybe I'll keep it to $10,000. Still a lot of money, but
so you try to put it around like 10 to 15, or how much do you try to?
That's where I'm aiming for. That's what I'm aiming for. Anything beyond that is, again, just because of the nature of short films. Making a short film is never a waste, but this type of short film you make and what you try to make, it should be in the proper scale to what ultimately you can do with it. Because a short film is traditionally a calling card. You do a short film so you can show people at film festivals or on YouTube or through a reel what you can do. That's pretty much it. There's no place you can release shorts where you'll make money. So that's the real trick. How do I make something look nice and professional and like the big boys make, without spending their kind of money? And that's where talent comes in, because it shows, okay, I'm able to do a lot with a little, which means a lot in this business. So that's, but it's choosing what kind of movie you're going to make. Now, going back to AI, like one of the selling points of AI to the creatives is that, well, now that space opera you wanted to do as your short film, you don't need to worry about all the money it's going to take to build the models and do the paintings and do the visual effects. AI will do it for you, so your ideas are no longer bound by money. To which I'm like, that may be true, but I think it's kind of the point. It's teaching you the discipline of working in a world of limitations, which is funny enough. I'm wearing this shirt, the Orson. I don't know if you can see it. Well, probably not. It says, one of Orson Welles' big quotes that I love is that the enemy of art is the absence of limitations. And that's a great quote. And I take it to be that, part of, and especially with film, and especially with Orson Welles and his films, the creativity comes through when all of a sudden you have to figure out how to do something special when you don't have all the pieces. And then also, if you have all the pieces, are you really going to be creative? I mean, if you have all the money in the world, I don't know if that's a good thing. I mean, we've seen movies that have come down the pike in these last 20 years that have had all the money in the world, but without the right person at the helm, the right creative spirit, it's a glorious piece of beige.
I see. And have you used AI to help you in filmmaking in any way?
I've used it very little. Use it in the realm of Photoshop, where I'll need an image. I need it to be extended this way more because the way I want to do the camera move, and if I don't extend the image that way, I'll run out of image. So AI has a function. There's a function in Photoshop with AI where I can say, "Hey, can you extend that over this way?" and it fills it in. I know how to do that myself, and traditionally, back in the Lovecraft Amendment Suits days, whenever I needed to extend a photo, I had to do it by hand. So I'd be lying if the AI didn't make my life easy in that moment where I could just tell it to do it for me. So I did that a couple of times. Sorry?
It can definitely save a lot of time.
It could definitely save some time. And we also used it in the Bob Bear documentary. There was some standard def footage that we used Topaz to upconvert to 4K. And that was an AI process. It would replicate the pixels and do all the things that it does. It's not that AI doesn't have a function, and it's not that AI can't be a tool. It's more that the phrases faster and easier are often said in the same breath of how AI is going to help creative. And I don't think faster or easier is a good thing.
Yeah, because that can take out the creativity.
Right. I think that robs, having been in film production for over 30 years and having been very intimate with the history of film for those 100 years before it, I can definitely say that those things that we love about film are not made from fast and easy. Even what was fast and easy for them, like a B-movie, assembly line stuff that was done in the studio days, still wasn't as fast and easy as they talk about with AI. I think you need to have those limitations. I think that's where the true artists emerge. Somebody who's able to have vision. Okay, I'll go and do this. I can't do this, so I'll do it this way. And more often than not, it's an even better solution. But yeah, I could rant on about it. There are other problems with AI beyond what it's going to do to the creative side of the world. But,
yeah.
For the sake of our conversation, I'll keep it to the thing. So.
Well, who's been your most memorable collaboration that you've had in your whole career journey?
I mean, I like working with all the people I've worked with, but I tend to be a filmmaker who does a lot of it himself. So I've never really collaborated with anybody. Like they were a co-writer or a co-director. That's not true. I did a short film with a friend of mine, Jack Bennett. He's in the film as well as co-directed and wrote. It was a little comedy short we did. And that was fun. And we definitely, working together, and both of our inputs made it a better film. But I don't tend to work with other people a lot. Almost all of my films, and when I say that, I have fellow producers and they help me get things done. But I'm the one who's out there actually making the film itself a lot of the time.
I see.
That's me, though. There's a lot of people who have very healthy collaborations with other people. I guess my biggest problem with working with other writers or things like that is my experience has been typically somebody will come, "Hey, Frank, I got this great idea for a film. Let's write it together." And then we get in the room and I realize that I'm the only one writing and they're just sitting here going, "This is great." And it's just like, well, if I want to write by myself and just have the peanut gallery telling me how good I am, I could go write my own stuff.
They're not putting in very much input from their own time.
Because I tend, again, this is just my experience, but I've found that most people if they're really truly writers, if they have a good idea, they'll have written it or be in the process of writing it. The person that seeks out a writer to help them write an idea they had, they're doing that because they don't know how to write it. So I'd rather them come to me and say, I have this great idea, do you want to go write it for me? That's a more honest approach than some of the collaborations that come along.
So you're saying it would be better if they like already brought like a written piece, because like they already put in the effort for that.
In some ways, it could be better. I mean, it at least shows me that they're willing to roll up their sleeves and go in there and do the work. Like there was a producer guy I worked with. He had a great concept for a show based on his experiences. He came to me wanting to write it together. We sat down and we index carded it out and planned out this whole entire thing. And then when it came time to write the screenplay, he was constantly kind of saying, well, Frank, when are you going to be able to write the screenplay? It's like, I'm busy, I'm working, I don't know when I'm going to get to it because there's no money here, it's spec. I said, it's your life, it's your experiences, we have a structure, go do the first pass. It doesn't matter if it's bad, but at least it gets us a first draft. And he never did it. So I'm like, I can't care more about your idea than you do.
Dang, that kind of sucks.
It happens. It's something that's all too often in this business. A lot of people want to be, they want the fame, or they want the recognition, or they want the sense of achievement, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. Or they want the end result, but they don't want to have to put in the work.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty common nowadays.
It's extremely common. We're a business that is driven by people who have huge egos, and a lot of people who come to town to be in this business also have deep, empty voids that they need to fill with all the adulation and affirmation they can. Being a film star, being a sports star, that world, when we watch it play out on our TVs or the screens, seems like that's the place to go if you're really looking for somebody to tell you how great you are. So yeah, but it's a hard journey to get to the point where people are telling you how good you are. More often than not, they're telling you how awful you are because they're dealing with their own stuff. It's an insane asylum. Nobody wants to be in this business.
I see. And what do film festivals and the horror fan community mean to you? Because I see that you go to a lot of film festivals. You went to one.
I've been lucky enough to go to a lot of film festivals. Film festivals mean different things to me at different times because I've been on both sides. I've been a filmmaker submitting, and I've also been a judge, and I've also helped to run one for a short period. So my biggest beef with film festivals these days, and it's not necessarily anybody's fault, because if you get 3,000 submissions and you have to sit down and watch them all, that's your time. And if you're just one person, you're not going to get through 3,000. So you have to bring other people on board, and that's their time. So I get the whole world of entry fees. Paying $35, 35 to 80 to sometimes like almost 100 to submit your film to a film festival.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lot of money for some of these filmmakers, especially since the majority of films that go to film festivals through submission tend to be these independent, paid for by like my parents or a dentist kind of thing. The big budget films that go to, we were just at Newport Beach, fantastic film festival. Rian Johnson did not submit Knives Out to them. He didn't go to Film Freeway. I'm sure, I was almost 100% sure that they approached him, say, hey, your film's coming out at that time. Do you mind if we do a premiere at Newport Beach? And he said, absolutely. Love the Bob Gurr documentary. We didn't submit it. They heard about it, and they asked us if they could screen it as part of the festival. And I'm like, absolutely. So I have a lot of friends who've been very successful going to different festivals, but what they were doing, and it's a path I didn't really do as much, and it's a total viable path, it just wasn't in the cards for me at the time, is they did submit to festivals, and they eventually got lucky enough to get into some, and they started going to those festivals. And then those people, the festival directors knew who they were, so next time around, they may still have to pay the entry fee to pay for the people to watch and review everything, but they were almost guaranteed to be accepted. So you have to build relationships with the festivals and the festival directors as a filmmaker to really benefit from the festival circuit. Because the more they show your stuff, the more they're familiar with you. But it's like anything else. It's like getting that one foot in the door, that first film that they accept is hard. So I used to be one of those filmmakers that would make a film and then I would submit to like my top 10 festivals, and $300 later I wasn't accepted anywhere. Now I'm kind of like, I'm not going to submit to a festival where I don't know the people, or more to the point, I will gladly be in a festival because I think festivals are worth it and they're very crucial to the survival of film as an art form. But I'm hoping people will just hear about us and say, we'd like to show your film. I've been in a very, very blessed position with the Bob Gurr documentary that's been the case with the festivals that we screened it so far. So that's been nice. Horror film community, I love all the people there. I love monsters, but and this isn't just the horror film community, I think it's a lot of other fan communities, different things. There's a lot of cult of personality going on and who supports it. And what I mean by that is there are many filmmakers who are revered within the horror film community because they've made a film and they've gotten out there. But the thing is that it's not very good, those films they're making. But they're being celebrated by their peers and by the horror film community because they made a film and they got it out there. And that is a huge accomplishment. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely wonderful. And they definitely should be congratulated and somebody should buy them a drink or what have you. Mm-hmm. But that's the first stage of accomplishment and success. The second stage is like, you made the film. Did you make a good one? And more often than not, I find people lauding filmmakers within the horror film community that are nice enough people, and they definitely got a feature film done, and maybe even in a theater near you. But it's crap. It happens a lot, and that's not just in horror. It happens in all areas of film, all genres. But in the horror community, I started seeing that a lot more and more. People were telling me that I should be looking at this person as if they're the second coming, and I'm just like, don't get me wrong, I'm impressed by them, by what they achieved, but I don't want to be them. I don't think they brought anything to the table artistically. And I say that with full well knowing that somebody's going to turn around and say, but Frank, you wrote Wrong Turn to Six. That's crap too. I said, yeah, but I got paid. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had like a lot of experiences, I'm assuming, and like, I mean, you've been in the industry for over 30 years, you said, right?
Yeah, I know, I'm old.
No, I don't think you're old, but
thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely like experienced a lot of things. So you've had like good films and bad films, but I mean, that's just a part of the process, I feel like.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish I had more good films of the horror films, the scripts that I wrote and were produced. I have great scripts that I wrote that have not been produced and probably never will be. And I'm not talking about like things I've written for myself, things I've written for other people. I got paid to write them. They're fantastic scripts, but I know that they were able to get the money together, and nobody will ever hear about them.
Dang,
my documentaries, I'm happy that the ones I've made have been good and have been appreciated and celebrated in some way. Lovecraft's a key example. I still get money for Lovecraft, which is crazy. Yeah. It still plays strong out on the platforms it does.
When did Lovecraft come out?
2008.
Wow, that was a while ago.
People are still watching it. People are still commenting on it. My YouTube page, I have a little clip from the film. Granted, it's about Lovecraft and his racism, which is a big thing for Lovecraft fans. People are still commenting on that today. And also stylistically, you know, how I shot it and all the rough edges that I see when I see that movie compared to what I do now. I must have had a good Lovecraft. The documentary Lovecraft is a conversation. Yes, it's a biography of the man, but it's really a conversation with all those luminaries that we were lucky enough to get. So, because with that and with Men in Suits especially, Bob Gurr was different. But those two documentaries were, I wanted to have the feeling of what it fans talking about something they love while they're waiting in line to get into Hall H at Comic-Con or something like that. And that's the conversation I want to have them have. I think I did that with those two films.
That's good. What do you say is like the most rewarding part about being a filmmaker?
For me, the most rewarding part is when I actually have somebody come back and say that my film meant something to them. And I've been lucky that that's happened with each of those 3 documentaries I've done, especially. It's even also happened with Wrong Turn 6.
Oh, wow.
Wrong Turn 6 is a very divisive movie. There are people who are long-term fans of the genre who hated it. And I got a lot of Twitter fire from some people. But then there are other people who actually loved it to death, and they still write me thanking me for doing it. Wrong Turn 6 also launched the career of an actress who's still a friend, Sadie Katz. She did that role, burst on the scene thanks to the role I wrote for her. And I say that because she thanked me the other day for writing that role for her, because it was a role that she took and she ran with it, and she has done countless films since then. She's built a whole career out of it, and deservedly so. There's Men in Suits. There's a suit performer, a creature performer that I know, that when she saw the film at the beginning, she wasn't sure if she wanted to go into that business. And then she saw that there's a pathway for her because of that documentary. It's inspirational. She says she still watches it once every year just to get her juices going again. That means a lot to me. I love the awards. I'm very happy to be honored. But I can be across from a filmmaker who went to every film festival in the world and got, won best film at these film festivals. But that girl, who's now a woman and now a working professional, the fact that my film touched her and gave her the confidence to go forth and chase her dream, I win over all those other people who went to the festivals.
I see. That's pretty inspirational.
Well, thank you.
What's some advice that you would give to like up and coming filmmakers, especially in the indie or horror like genre?
Well, more than ever, make sure this is what you want to do. And the best way to make sure this is what you want to do is to work on other people's films and get a taste of the business and all that stuff. So the other thing I recommend is that basically, as much as you can, make stuff. If you have a script idea, write it. If you have access to a camera and a couple of actors, friends, and you can make a short film over a weekend, make it. Don't sit waiting for somebody to give you the opportunity to do either of those things. You have the ability within yourself to go and do it. Sure, the short film may not be any good. Sure, the script may be something that you're so embarrassed by, you put it in a drawer and never speak of it again. I have a short film that I did a while back. I had gone to film school, and I came to LA and I started working on all these great shows, and in the process I forgot that I was a filmmaker. I wasn't making anything. So finally I was on a show long term enough that I was like, I gotta make a film. I came out to be a filmmaker and I haven't made anything. So I went and made a film, and it was crap. And it's crap because of me. I wasn't ready. I didn't think of things that I should have thought of. I have good friends, talented friends who helped me make that film, and unfortunately for them, that film, as long as I'm alive, will probably never see the light of day, unless you over at my place one night and you get me drunk enough and I'll be like, okay, sure, I'll show you. But that's okay. Your first effort should be something that you shoot for the moon, you realize where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and if it's not good, you are totally allowed to bury that first effort. I think that's a totally fair play. But yeah, that's the joy of making. You're not going to learn how to make movies by you'll learn about the language of movies by watching movies. So watch as many movies as you can. But that's not going to teach you how to make them. Crewing on other people's films, making your own, getting yourself into trouble by going out and trying to shoot something and realizing that I have no idea what I'm doing. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to become a better filmmaker. And going back to that first point, that's when you'll also find out whether or not this is for you. And AI is now opening up the door to a lot of people who just didn't think they had the talent or gumption to be able to go out there and do those things. And look, if they're able to make a film using AI, so be it. But I don't know how good that is for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you really need to, in all art, not just filmmaking, you need to be able to go get your hands dirty and actually do it.
Yeah.
And even though some of these digital tools will make that journey a little bit more, like, it's lighter, you want to carry as much gear, and you can get things going a little bit faster, it's still, those trials that you go through are what make you the better artist. It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, it's definitely all a learning process too. Like from any failure that you have.
And the day I stop learning is the day I quit. And I'm fortunate enough that I have not stopped learning.
Do you have any dream projects that you haven't gotten to make yet?
Oh, there's tons of things. And some of them I probably, unfortunately, just won't ever make. Partially because I'm only on this planet for so long. And you can't get it all,
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 feature scripts I've written that I know are good, and I've had staged table reads of them, and everybody who's read them is like, God, this is really good. But I know it's going to require millions and millions of dollars to make them. And at the moment, nobody's giving me millions and millions of dollars to make films. Maybe that will change. Everything I make is one more step towards that kind of existence, which is why for all my accomplishments that I've made, even though nowadays, as I mentioned, I'm very happy with them, and I'm like, wow, I did that. Wow, I worked with that person. Wow. Because I'm still not at a point where I can make some of the things I want to make. I don't feel like I've made it, if that makes any sense. I still have a long ways to go till I'm at the point that I consider myself a fully successful filmmaker. But the big thing for me now is I'm comfortable being at a party, and if somebody says, what do you do? I say, I'm a filmmaker. Whereas before, I was a filmmaker who was trying to get films made, so I hadn't really made them yet. But now I've made enough films that without a doubt, I'm a filmmaker, and that means something to me, because that's why I got into this, is to be a filmmaker. I am.
That's good. Because I remember when I met you at the Irish Film Festival at the pub. Like, you told me you were a filmmaker, and that's like how we got to connect.
It was a great time, that festival. That festival was so wonderful, and everything about it was the existence I wanted to have. I was in a scenario where I was with fellow filmmakers, and we were talking about what we made, and we were seeing each other's films, and I was hearing big filmmakers talk. And that night I was going home because it's in Newport Beach, and I live in the Burbank area, so I had an hour and a half drive, during which time I'm listening to podcasts about famous filmmakers like Fritz Lang and Frank Capra. And then when I get home, that Martin Scorsese documentary is on Apple, so I watch an episode before I go to sleep. Then I get up the next day and go out and do more film stuff. The only thing I wasn't doing during that week of the film festival was actually making a film, but I was showing the film I just made. So it was such a pure filmmaking experience that I was over the moon. I wish that for a lot of people.
It's really good. Well, as somebody who's like really inspired by your work, I'd love to ask if you ever need like behind the scene footage photographer or anything like that, or even like some on-set talent, like I would be more than happy to help contribute.
Oh, thank you. No, you do this. Keep in touch with me, for sure, because I never know when I need some help. But I will say this, and this is something else that's a key little thing for a lot of people. We meet many filmmakers and people in our path. Try as best you can to stay in touch with them, because that's the key to getting the next opportunity. Is that I'll have run into you at a look at this right here. What you and I, we happened to run into each other at an after party at a film festival, and you were like, I want to talk to a filmmaker, guys. So I'm going to call him and see if he's free to talk. And I was in your mind, and you were in mine, and we made it happen. A lot of these things that happen in this business is because you've just recently saw somebody or just recently talked to somebody about something else. And then you all of a sudden get an opportunity. Hey, you know what? I'm going to call that guy because I remember he does this. So it's get out there, see people, talk to them, stay in touch.
I'll definitely stay in touch. And also, like, I'm willing to drive to like Burbank area.
Yeah, you live out in Fullerton area?
Yeah.
Are you out in Fullerton? Yeah. My niece went to the college out there. She just graduated a couple of years ago. So I used to go to Fullerton. Sorry? You see Fullerton? I'm sorry, you broke up.
Was it Cal State Fullerton?
Yeah, Cal State Fullerton, yeah. She was with me. The people that were with me that night, that was my niece and her roommates, and they all went to Cal State Fullerton for animation degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
I'll get there very often. But no, absolutely, I'll keep you posted. Cross your fingers. Maybe the short film we're going to do at the beginning of next year will actually come together. I'm at a point now where I'm bringing on enough people and making enough decisions that at a certain point, a film reaches critical mass where it has no choice but to happen.
I see.
And that's what you hope for. I'm going forward as if this is going to happen. There are still a lot of things I haven't figured out, a lot of logistical and budgetary things. But hopefully it'll all fall into place. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really exciting, though. But I'll definitely be keeping in touch. And I mean, thank you for getting the chance to have this meeting, or giving me the chance to have this meeting with you. I definitely learned a lot about.
My door's always open. If you have any follow-up questions or thoughts, hey Frank, what do you think about this thing? You know where I am.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no, this is great. Thank you.
I would definitely love to connect sometime in person too. I mean, if I'm ever in
I mean, we live in the same general area, but far enough away that it's really going to have to be when our paths cross. But it's going to happen for sure. So, I hope to see you soon then.
Yes.
Now, do you prefer Salvatore, or are you Sal, or?
Well, yeah, my name is Salvatore, but a lot of people call me Salvatore. Honestly, I don't really have a preference.
Okay. You don't have a preference? Okay. I hope you don't mind I do it with the Italian pronunciation.
Yeah, I don't mind. It's okay. My full name is literally so Italian. Salvatore Boschetti.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, very much. Well, thank you very much, Salvatore.
Of course. Well, that's all the questions I had for you. Yeah, I mean, again, thank you very much for making the time for all of this to happen.
I mean, not that it matters. I mean, I'm happy to talk. You wanted to record and do this just for yourself, or did you want to put it out there someplace?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to review the footage and edit it a bit and post it on YouTube and also Instagram. If you don't mind, can I tag you as well?
Tag me, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind at all.
What is your Instagram?
Oh, you would ask me that. Give me 1 second, I'll tell you. Again, this is me being Gen X and not really being up on the tech. I think I'm just frank.h.woodward. That's how imaginative my handle is. Yeah, frank.h.woodward. Yeah, you'll find it.
All right. I just followed you right now.
There you go.
All right. I'll definitely post this on Instagram and YouTube as well. And
yeah, wherever you think people will want to listen to me gab.
But other than that, those are all the questions I had for you. Thank you very much.
They're great questions. Thank you very much. You have a great. I guess the weekend starts tomorrow, so have a good one, right?
Yes. You have a good week as well too.
Take care, man. See ya.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.